Okay, so one of the other things that Dryad asked was about using sort of preloaded sidechaining and compression. Well, we've kind of done the parallel compression with the drums. If we wanted to set up our sidechain, now normally the way generally this is done in electronic dance music is you would sidechain the kick to your bass sounds, so that the bass and the synth parts are sort of ducking out the way when the kick's hitting, so you're not getting too much mud and mess, and you're getting nice punchy kick sounds. So the way I would do this is we could do this a couple of ways really. Because I'm using Ultrabeat, you don't have to do it this way, but we could, instead of having it on the stereo, we could go to a multi-output. So now if I open up Ultrabeat, so we have, ooh, okay, that's because I'm sending to these reverbs, isn't it? Do you know what? It might be better to leave those off for the time being. Okay, so we've got a few sounds here. So we've got one kick drum. Now, if we want to set this up in a multi-output fashion, what we would need to do is, where our sample is loaded, if we come here and we've got these subgroups. Now for the kick, I want to keep this in mono, so I'm going to come down to where these numbers are. We've got 3 and 4, 5 and 6, so these are outputs. And where there's 2 numbers, that means it's a stereo output. Where we've got the single numbers, it's a mono output. So for the kick, I want to keep it in mono, so I'm going to come down to this one, which is subgroup 9, which is output 17. And so then what have we got? We've got, oh, sorry, I've got another kick there. Okay, so we'll do the same with that one. Now we've got a snare, so let's put that to 3 and 4. Another snare, 3 and 4. Nothing on 5. That's a hat, so let's put that on 5 and 6. That's a percussion sound. We'll do that on 7 and 8. Keep these separate. That's another percussion sound. Let's do that on 7 and 8 as well. And I think that's everything I've got. Okay, so if we come down to our mixer now, what we will need to do is to create some auxiliary channels using this plus button here. So I think I set up 4 different, I think it was 4. Let's click 4. Okay, so I think, as I've demonstrated in one of my other videos, this will default to loading up the first 3 subgroups, which are all stereo outputs. And the first sound that I sent was a kick. So, and I usually like to start with my kicks. So I like to sort of build from the ground up, as so to speak. So I'm going to change this. So I'm going to come down here, instrument 1, and we'll choose 17 there. Now next I want the snares, which is on 3 and 4. And after that I want 5 and 6. And now on this one, 7 and 8. So if I play these, we should see that we're getting There we go, that's our kick, snares, hats, percussion. Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's just chuck in a very quick drum beat so we can, we've got one there. Okay, this is quite good as well because we can see we're getting some clipping on these, on the outputs here. So let's bring down some of these volumes so we're not clipping. Okay, that's taking care of the kicks. Let's pull this snare down. Okay. Okay. So before I get to the sidechain, seeing as we've set the drums up in this way, let's just add some other stuff in that we might want in our template. Okay, so first things first, because we've now set up our drum kit to be sending the sounds out to these auxiliary channels, these sends on the main Ultrabeat channel will effectively no longer be active. So what we need to do, we might as well disable that, and we might as well send these sounds out to our bus sends. So we want to send all of these to our drum comp, and we'll choose the reverbs as well. I'm not going to send any of this just yet. Okay, and now because we've got the actually, let's do a bit of housekeeping and let's name these tracks. So we've got kick, snare, hats, and percussion. Okay, so let's actually do a little bit of work to the drum sounds. We might as well try and polish them a little bit so that when we save the template we can begin with a nice crisp drum sound. Okay, let's just set this playing and then we'll do some EQs and whatever else we feel necessary. Sorry, what I'm doing now is I'm just searching around for frequencies that I feel like the where the kick is sitting nicely. So around 55 Hertz, I think we've got a nice tone there. So I'm just going to put a small boost on that, and I may cut out some frequencies a little bit higher than that, just so we're helping us to just maybe get rid of some of the mud. And maybe we'll just something like that. Now we're clipping again, so what we'll do, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put a gain plugin on here, and this is quite useful to do with a lot of different things, and it allows you to attenuate the gain if you need to on any of your channels before it. If you put it first in your chain of plugins, then you can adjust it before any of the other plugins are active. Okay, and maybe we want a little bit of distortion just to bring out this kick a bit. So I'm going to add a bit crusher. Now the way I like to use this is I would put the resolution up to say 12-bit or higher, and then we'll just dial in a little bit of drive amount. Well, that's too much. Maybe we'll so that's sounding a little bit fatter, and I think I may just something like that. I quite like using this bit crusher because I believe it must have some kind of limiter built into it, because it will not allow the sound to clip. If I just demonstrate that, before I do that, let me turn down the master a little bit, or the stereo output a little bit. But if I push this up, you should see that even though the sounds it will start sounding quite nasty, but it won't actually go above 0 dB. So it is on our drum comp and on the stereo, but on the actual channel itself we're not getting any clipping, so there must be some kind of built-in limiting to that. Okay, so we've got a bit of a processed kick there. I think that we could do a bit more to that to make it sound better, but we'll come back to that. Now let's again with the snares, I'm going to put another gain on here first, just because the snares can sometimes get a bit loud. And now we'll have an EQ. Let me open up Ultrabeat again so we can get our loop playing. Okay, now we don't need too much lows in the snare sound. We're getting a nice peak around there, so I'm just going to emphasize that slightly. I don't want it too boxy sounding, so we'll cut out some, maybe something like that. And again, we'll just got a very high peak right up in the sort of 20k region, so I'm just gonna, we probably don't need that, so I'm gonna just bring in a high cut there. And maybe we would want to let's add another bit crusher to this. We'll see if we can get a little bit more punch out of it. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. And maybe we'll send the snare to the small reverb. Okay. I'm just going to throw a gain plugin on my stereo output as well, and just bring the overall gain down a little bit so we're not clipping. Okay, and I'm just going to dial in a little bit of the small reverb on the kick as well. Just want to hear what that sounds like. Let's just drag this pattern in here so we can just get a loop going. I don't need to, I can close the Ultrabeat down. There we go. I only want a very small amount of reverb on the kick, but that's sounding all right. So let's come over to the hats. Now, I'm not going to use a gain plugin on this, and I'm going to high pass this. Maybe something like that. maybe we'll send this to the large reverb. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, that's sounding all right. And have we got any percussion happening? Yeah. So again, I think EQ and something like that. We don't need to mess about with it too much. Okay, what I'm going to do on the parallel drum compression as well now, I'm going to add, again I quite often like to bring out a bit of grit and make the compressed sound quite gnarly. We could use Bit Crusher again. If you've got third-party plugins, you could use some third-party plugins. I'm going to try the Camel Crusher and just have a listen. Okay, let's turn the fat off for the time being. Let's turn the distortion down. Let's just again, this Camel Crusher, like the Bit Crusher, has got a built-in limiter, I believe, because again it won't let the signal go above 0 dB, which is nice. So I'll put that after the compressor. I may even, let's come back to the compressor, I may try and compress this a little bit more. Now that we've got some sounds in there, we can tweak these. And you know what, let's what I'm going to do here as well, because we're running that signal quite high into the compressor, so I'm going to add another gain plugin. I'm going to bring the gain down before it's reaching the compressor. I could do this in the EQ, I could bring the level down here, but I prefer to do it with the gain plugin, because then it's kind of got it's dedicated to that task. And if later I want to add any automation to the EQ and everything like that, then you know, it's all kind of separate that way. Okay, so that's a better level that we're hitting there coming into the compressor. Now I can push the makeup gain up a bit. Maybe we're slightly... Yeah, something like that's quite nice. Let's just listen to it with the rest of the drums brought back in. Let's maybe EQ this slightly. The good thing about this, because this is our parallel sidechain, sorry, not sidechain, the parallel drum compression, we can actually be quite extreme with some of these EQ moves and compression and stuff, and get a really sort of characterful sound with it, and then blend it back in with the more natural sounding dry signal drums, and get a nice blend. So let's do that. And I may also send the compressed sound to the small reverb as well. And let's just mess about with the EQ on the small reverb. Okay, so there I spent a bit of time playing about with the drum sounds, and I haven't demonstrated at all how to do the sidechaining. So gone on a bit of a digression there, never mind. So to do the sidechaining, let's use this sub bass. For ease, I think it'd be better if we actually created some kind of bassline. I'm going to do this very quickly. We'll probably come up with something really terrible, but never mind. Oops. Tell you what, I'm going to move this up an octave or two, so I can hear what I'm doing a bit better, and hopefully you can as well. I don't know. The pressure's on now. I don't know, something like that. That will do, won't it, for the time being? So let's drop this back down. And I'll tell you what, for good measure, if I copy these regions over to our alchemy, and I'll quickly try and find a preset. Okay, so I've picked a sound. I'm not it's not the best, but it will work for our purposes of demonstrating how to set up the sidechain. So the way I find this the easiest thing to do for me, we want to have the kick as our trigger for the sidechain. So I'm going to, on the kick channel, on the kick auxiliary channel, I'm going to set up a bus. Let's put it on bus 10. I'm going to put the send all the way up to 0 dBs, and where we've created this new auxiliary channel here on bus 10, we can see that up here. I'm going to name this, if I call it kick side, yeah, that'll do, kick side. And what we want to do here, we don't want to be hearing any signal coming from this channel, so I'm going to come down here and select no output. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to select or go on to our bass sound. So we've got our sub bass here, and we need to add a compressor. So let's do that. I'll leave it on this platinum digital. You can use whatever compressor that you like, as long as it allows you to sidechain. So if we come up to our sidechain menu here, and we're going to select this bus 10 that we've sent our kick to. Now this compressor is going to be detecting the signal from that bus, so it'll be detecting the kick. So let's solo the kick and this sub bass. Let's play it, and then we'll start dialing in the amount of threshold and ratio. So hopefully you can hear that when the kick's hitting, the sub bass is not quite as loud, and after the kick releases, the volume of the sub bass is coming back up. If you're not quite hearing that because it's all very subby frequencies, there aren't really any high frequencies, we'll do the same thing with our other synth sound. Oh, hang on, I'm dialing in. I haven't actually set up the sidechain, have I? So here we go, bus 10. There we go. Okay. So I've done it the way I've done it there. I've done it quite sort of exaggerated so that you can hear more accurately what is going on. So now I must admit, generally I don't really use sidechain compression in this way, and you know, I know a lot of people do, and it's perfectly fine. So personally, this is not something I would set up on a template, and I would only add it if I felt I needed to. So for my purposes, I'm not going to use this. So actually I'm going to have I'll tell you what, I'll leave the compressors on there. I'm going to turn the sidechain off on both of them. Maybe I'd leave it on the sub bass. Let me just have a quick listen again. Okay, so it's quite nice on the, so I'm going to leave that on the sub bass. Okay, so we've set up our drums in with multi outputs. We've processed them each sound slightly. We've set up a parallel drum compression. We've set up 2 reverbs, and we've set up a side chain should we need to use it. So what else could we do?